watching The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, the new Biden administration says it stands with its friends and allies on Taiwan. What does that mean? What is the context? Stay with me. Making sense of the overwhelming wave of information means cutting through the noise to shine a light on the heart of the story and making room for new perspectives. True understanding means the ability to see events from more than one side. I'm Liu Xin, and this is The Point. The U.S. State Department on Saturday released a statement reassuring Taiwan of its support over claims that Chinese mainland dispatched warplanes near the island. Taiwan claims the People's Liberation Army sent 8 bombers last Saturday capable of carrying nuclear weapons and 4 fighter jets into its air defense identification zone. It alleges another 60 military aircraft were again dispatched on Monday. Beijing hasn't officially responded to the claims. This is Washington's first statement on the Asia-Pacific since Joe Biden took office last week. So how should we interpret this message? What's the context, and how can China and the U.S. properly handle this delicate issue going forward? I'm pleased to be joined by Professor Zheng Youping at Taipei University, from Taipei, and from Washington, D.C., Stanley Kober, a defense and foreign affairs analyst. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. So the Chinese Foreign Ministry responded to the U.S. statement on Monday, saying we urge the U.S. to strictly abide by the One China principle and the 3 communiques to handle Taiwan-related issues properly and to refrain from sending any wrong signals to Taiwan's pro-independence forces so as not to damage bilateral ties and peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. Professor Zheng, exactly what's the context and background of this statement, however? It seems to be in reaction to the alleged flights. What do we know? What do we not know?
Well, on the surface of it, it seems that it is a direct reaction against the military maneuver around the Dongsha Islands, or the southwest corner of the Taiwan's air identification zone. But we have to say that it has become pretty regular or normal for the PLA to exercise around the region or the airspace. So it wouldn't be a specific political or military move aimed at the United States, especially the incoming Biden administration. However, there is a fact that actually took place. That is, it is a kind of signal to the Biden administration that mainland China would take Taiwan very seriously. Now, if the Biden administration would ever try to play the Taiwan card like the Trump administration did in the last 4 years, there's going to be serious, potentially very significant political consequences in the region. So I would have to say that State Department obviously caught the message, and it's a response in gesture, it's a response in verbal statement only. But we have to wait and see how the Biden administration would actually formulate its China policy or its so-called Taiwan policy in the coming months. So right now, it's just a back and forth in the air.
In a statement from the State Department, Mr. Kober, the U.S. promises to maintain its long-standing commitments as outlined in the 3 communiques, the Taiwan Relations Act, and the 6 assurances. Mr. Kober, is there anything new here in the U.S. pronouncement of these stands? What do you think Washington's trying to say to Taipei and to Beijing here?
They also said the commitment to Taiwan is rock solid. Something I've mentioned here before, there's this language of deterrence, and you want to deter Taiwan from declaring independence. We don't want that as well, but these other things as well with these military maneuvers, and I am concerned that this is getting a little bit out of hand with all this deterrence. It might be more useful to go back to a diplomatic track. Come up with some proposals. When I was on your dialogue show, about a year ago, not quite, I mentioned the need for creative diplomacy. Too much of this now is in this military posturing and gesturing. Let me give you a case. About 20 years ago, I was at a conference on Taiwan. I asked, after reunification, how will you collect taxes from the people of Taiwan? And I was told by an official of your embassy here, this was the response to the question, oh, we have no intention of collecting taxes. That's not a regular country as we think of it. So you might want to clarify what you mean by reunification, because people just assume you will take it over and it'll become China, it will be a military base against it. Maybe that's not the case.
Okay.
You need to clarify.
Yeah, let's use this opportunity to seek a bit of clarification from Professor Zheng, if you think this is a relevant and important point here.
Exactly. I think people may have a misunderstanding
Well,
based on this was 20 years ago. I don't know if it's still current.
Taiwan,
it's worth clarifying.
Yeah, Professor Zheng, please.
Well, I guess the relationship for Taiwan and mainland China in the future is something that has to be worked out by both sides of the Taiwan Straits. In other words, I guess one country, two systems, or one country, two systems with a Taiwan characteristics are all possibilities that need to be worked out and has to be discussed. But what we have here today is a scenario in which the DPP, the ruling party, forbids the media, the people, the universities, intellectuals from discussing or even touching upon any of these one country, two systems formulas. So I have to say that I believe Chinese on both sides of the Taiwan Straits have enough political intelligence and wisdom to work it out. But the two sides need to talk. They have to communicate. Now, if one side insists on going forward, to going for the Taiwan independence, the secessionist movement, and the other side can always wait from generation to the next generation. Something has to be worked out. And I guess that the people here in Taiwan, at least part of the people here, are getting very impatient with the current political impasse. And this kind of standoff can hardly be a cold peace. People do actually worry about a hot war. And people worry about Taiwan becoming a new flashpoint in this region. And I have to say that communication is absolutely necessary, and Tsai Ing-wen has to recognize this absolute imperative to talk, to communicate, instead of blocking yourself, blocking Taiwan away from mainland China.
At this moment, Professor Zheng, do you think that is possible at all, especially given the start to this issue by the incoming Biden administration? Of course, they claim it's in response to China's military, muscle flexing.
Well, I have to say, the Biden administration has already shown itself to be more pragmatic, more realistic than the Trump administration. So from what we can gather, at least based on older conversations, remarks, or Senate hearing testimonies from the Biden administration high officials, it seems that they are getting to be more realist, and they're willing to recognize mainland China as a dominant, as a huge global economic power in the Asia-Pacific and Indo-Pacific region. And they cannot exclude China from this region, and they cannot choose their allies or partners in this region to choose between the United States and China, these two superpowers. So what they're trying to do is that they want to restore some balance. And in order to restore that kind of balance, they have to talk to mainland China, and they have to cooperate. Sure, competition would endure. We're going to see a lot more competition coming this way, politically, militarily, economically, technologically. But we can expect that the Biden administration's willingness to talk to mainland China on various issues, including Taiwan, they will have to show that they are still rock solidly supporting Taiwan. That's very good. But they will also have to, and I bet they will, exercise some kind of restraint in playing the so-called Taiwan card. Because a lot of people in Washington, D.C., I believe, for instance, Bonnie Glaser has already said that using too much Taiwan card playing is going to hurt Taiwan itself.
Okay. Mr. Kober, 20 seconds, please. What do you think is going to be very, very crucial for this flashpoint not to become a real point of conflict?
I think both sides need to pull back here. I am concerned on your side, something I've mentioned before, flying aircraft over Taiwan itself, military aircraft. I saw this in a Global Times editorial yesterday, where people had said that I think would be a very dangerous idea. I have to assume the Taiwanese would react, and that would draw us in.
We have to leave it there. Many thanks to my two guests. They are Zheng Youping joining us from Taipei and Stanley Kober joining us from D.C. With that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point. With me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using Liu Xin in Beijing. Thanks for watching. You've got The Point.